when you're dealing with any project, and also during your test phases, you must make sure you copy across the text file to the location you're going to be working on. So when we create the project, so I'm going to create the project, not a file. I'm going to create the project inside my your guys' M2019 folder. It's actually already there, and I'm going to call it UP 103.
That's opposite.
Thank you. 103 memo, and I'm not going to create a main class. Now once you've done that, as I was saying, I would then go through and I'd paste it. But before you do anything else, you just make sure you're set up so you don't have to worry about it later. So IT shared M2019 UP 103 memo, and I would paste the text file inside there. That is the correct location for the text file to work with. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get an understanding of how the program is going to work, because remember there's always different ways to create a system or create a program. In this case, we're wanting to try to create a application to help manage food packed for Stop Hunger Now. So in other words, this idea is that we are going to collect or gather food packages of different food types and put them together. So here's the sample data set. So there's oats, 5. I don't actually, if we look at the class diagram, 5 is nuts, which I don't know if I gave an explanation here, but I know that meant that was short for nutrition. So the nutritional scale or my random make up of this, and when I designed this question paper, is 5. So oats has a nutritional value of 5, bacon has a nutritional value of 10. Go figure. Okay, so you would look here, oats has a nutritional value of 5. There's a 100 gram bag, there's a 200 gram bag, there's a 150 gram bag, and so forth. So these are all the bags that we've collected of oats, and then these are all the bags we've collected of bacon. And if you open up the text file, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of other bags as well of nutrific. So there's 3 different food types, and there's different bags inside the food type. Nutrific has less nutrific nutrients than bacon. It's a known fact. Now, what we got there is we then take a look at our class diagram, and you'll see that there's an object of food, and my food has a name, a nutritional value, and the bags, an array of the bags that are in there. And it receives through, this is when we start noticing the problem, it receives through a string of bags. And here it says create a class food, all the fields, and get it to separate out there. Now, if you read further on, it says write code to create a nutrific and the weight of the bags separated by a new line, initialize, separate the bags, and it tells you here you're going to receive it as 100 \n, 150 \n. So what is happening here is between each bag there is a delimiter of \n. Do you guys get that? So now down here later on, okay, there's some get total, get whatever, and then down here it goes into the idea of reading from the text file where we would have to put it together. But now I can look at this as a standalone. Here I'm receiving this. I don't need to care about later on exactly, but obviously later on we'll have to worry about sending that through. That's future Craig's problem, not current Craig's problem. Right now you deal with the question that you're asked, okay? So, but because I've solved the overall problem, when you guys are working with your projects, you guys have to come up with, okay, my strategy. How am I going to separate things out? How am I going to go, okay, how am I going to store stuff? I'm just going to have multiple different text files. I'm going to have one text file with multiple different things in it. How am I going to separate my code out? And ideally one text file for you guys, so you can learn the idea of separating, which we would be doing during exams.
Is this for our project?
This is for exams and projects. Your guys' projects, you're going to have to, the UP project that you did where you designed that code, you're going to now be adding a text file to that for your project for this term. Your tests will be about this, so it's both for your project and for your exams. Okay. Now, so let's move up. Let's quickly go and create what it's asking. It's asking me to create a class called food with name, nutrition, and an array of bags. So right click, new Java class, food, package, Pacman, whatever. Yeah. Yes.
Do some mark there.
What up?
Yeah, it's not all caps.
What should be all caps? Oh, because I said food. But here I said food, so I wouldn't deduct the mark there because it was my bad examiner. So, look at that, it was never there. Okay. Hey, guys, in a situation like that, yes, potentially you would lose a mark. I might not even, but yeah, you would lose a mark because if it was. But here it's different to here. But the big thing is the naming convention of classes, first case capital letter, rest of it small letters. If an exam asked you all to be capital letters and it wasn't a constant, because constants have all capital letters. So if you're asked to make a class name all capital letters and you make it like this sentence, I would mark you correct because it was a stupid exam to ask you to do it all caps because it's not convention. Alright, so now class food, it asks for it specifies because it's got a negative sign, it means it's private. So private string, the name of the food. It's then got a private int nutritional value. It's then got a private. Now this is where one or two of you battled. So let me zoom in. When you are creating a array of a class, you would say the class name, but in this case it's not a class, it's an array of a data type, so it's a simpler, it's just int array, and it's going to be called bags. And then we'll go private. You can initialize it here. I personally don't like doing that. I prefer initializing in my default constructor. I prefer then going bags array bags is equal to new bags nint size 500. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I prefer doing it in my constructor. There is no marks deducted for you doing it here. It's just that potentially I might have a constructor where I would want to pass the array through to it. So I already know all the bags that I've got and I want to just pass through the bags through to it when I initialize it. But then in which case what would happen then is it would initialize it and then to be a certain size, then it will override it with a new size. So it would then potentially be a little bit of bad coding, but it's not who gives a rat's, quite frankly, in this case. Alright, so numBags is equal to 0 to start off with, so I'm happy. I've initialized my fields, I've done all of this, I'm happy. Now it says there create a method called add all the fields represented in the class diagram. Done. Create add bag code, and then it says parameterized constructors, all setters and getters. So we first want to create the add bag code. So public void, because remember, if it doesn't give you a return type, this does not return anything. It just receives and performs an action, so it's an action one. Add bag, open brackets, int weight, and then we'll just literally go bags position num bags. So it's the same as what we did do previously, but now because it's not an object, you don't need to initialize it using a constructor because it's not an object. It's an array of a data type, which is just then equals this 5, 7, 100, 2. It's whatever the value. Now what you mustn't forget to do is you need to increment numBags. Remember what this does is it just allows. Oops, sorry. I am doing something on another screen here quickly. What it allows you to do is you've created an array of 0, 1, 2. So you've created an array of positions up to 500, right? You've declared pointers. They don't actually exist in RAM. You've just created the pointers, okay? Then you're creating something here called numBags, and you're setting it at 0. So basically, that's like you pointing to position 0 in the array. So all you're doing there is you're saying, the first place I want to initialize a value is position 0. So if you run the method addBags and you send through a weight 100, it would be added to position numBags of the array. So if we go to the actual array, 100 would be added to position numBags. We would then need to, I'll get to your question now, we would then need to increment numBags, and numBags would then become 1, meaning it will point to the next pointer in the array, which means it would then add the next one to here, which would then increment numBags to the next position in the array, which would work through. So it's literally just a counter to keep track of where I'm at on it, yes?
Someone complaining, but I'm asking, can you please put it like up 1 or 2 minutes?
Second break today. Now, what we've got now is, I told you previously what was going to happen if you asked that.
I wasn't complaining, I'm just asking like
Do me a favor, Scott, just point the thing so it's blowing above you. I'm not going to change the temperature, but just point it so it's blowing above you, please. Yes.
It's about 200. Is that that's the user's input, correct?
It's not the user input. Look at the guys. That was a good question that was asked by Kyle. Kyle was asking, is that the user's input? And the answer to that is we don't know, and nor do we care. The idea is we're encapsulating, meaning we are creating a method that from another point in program, which might receive it from a user, might receive it from a text file, might receive it from a network connection, might receive it from wherever. That's got to do with the interface. Right now, we are creating a system that I can add a bag of food. I'm going to receive through the parameter the weight, so I'm receiving it through the weight and the parameter, and then I'm adding it to the bag. Where that originated from, I don't know, nor does it matter. Does that make sense? Oh, yeah. So is it better now, Dean? Okay, so it's blowing over. Yeah, I will not make you stay in a second break, but next time to solve it, and move it up. Okay. Now the next thing after add bag, what have we got here? I guess we're adding bag of the weight. Now what we've got to do is it says there write code to create the parameterized constructor. It did kind of skip the setters and getters. I didn't allocate. Oh no, there's a question of that. Alright, so it says there write code to create a parameterized constructor that will receive the name, the nutritional value, and a string containing the weights of all bags. So I'm creating a parameterized constructor. It's going to receive name, nutrition, and we're going to add an additional one there of string bags. Now, excuse me. One thing that you'll notice is that I haven't, because now my constructor I haven't initialized in here, because we didn't run the default constructor here. Technically my bags array hasn't been initialized and my num bag. So if I had done it up here, yes, it would have already been done. I wouldn't have to do it again. But because I had done it in my default constructor, it would mean I would actually need to run my default constructor here. If it allows me to, it doesn't. Huh? Maybe it will just be this. That's a good question, how to run it again. Okay, look at that. Okay, so no. Whoa, what's going on? Okay. This, you guys understand, this dot name refers to the class's name. Name would refer to the local name, right? So this open brackets, closed brackets refers to my class's default constructor.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm just saying construct me, my default construction. Now obviously my default construction should also then initialize everything else to be blank, so it might not be the best way of doing it, in which case, yeah, maybe I should just tell you guys and then we can ignore that whole thing and make it a bit. Because otherwise I would technically have to do it again in this part here, so now I don't have to do this. And that's not important. I don't want you guys to sort of, but this might understanding of this helps. Dean, please off your phone. You're in my bad book, so then you go and you tempt me more. Alright, now we move from this. We've got a string bags. Now it even tells me that a string bags would look like this. I'm just going to write a comment to show you what it will look like. It's going to have 100 \n 200 \n so forth. That's what we got told is going to be sent through there. Later on we get told how to send it there. But so in an exam situation, the reason why I quite like projects, because in a project you have to come up with your own strategy. In an exam we've come up with a strategy to make this program, and we tell you step by step kind of what to do with certain areas, being problem solving, this being one of them. When now I'm receiving this, I need to be able to make sure it's separated into bags. Now there are different ways to do this. I could, for example, create my own structure where I loop through individual characters and I look for whether it's a new line character, but that could be potentially difficult because \n is technically, well, it's just difficult. So what I would do, the easiest way to do this is a scanner can scan through text or files, and it is a nice utility to use. Like, how do we change a string to an integer? Integer.parsins. It's one of those sort of things. It's a method that we learn. It's an object or a class that we use that somebody else created that we can use. Scanner is one of them. So scanner we are going to use. Now when you guys work with your project, you might find some cool utility that you can use. Like for example, a project I did a while ago, I wanted to create PDFs that I could print reports out to with regards to something. So I found something online called Jasper, and I used the Jasper class to allow me to create PDFs. And I just had to learn a Jasper interface. Okay, I went into the API of Jasper, I learned what methods that were there. So what the most important thing for you guys to learn is idea of class structures. There are certain ones you must remember for your exams, but for projects and for future, it's a good idea to learn how classes and objects work, because then if you ever need to do something, you Google what plugin can help me do this, or what class can help me do this. Oh sweet, I can get this. It'll allow me to do the PDF creation, and I can just work with Jasper and work on there. Sometimes it can be fidgety because you have to import like 7 different classes to get your class to work on that, but it does work. Alright, now let's see, we're going to be scanning through each individual bag now. So I'm going to call it scan bags, but I can call it whatever I want, and we go equals new scanner. So we're creating an instance of our, sorry, it's not how you spell scanner, equals new scanner, and this time it's not a file source. Now this is an example of an overloaded constructor, right? We've got multiple different constructors here. So we've got a file source constructor, we've got an input stream, which is a network. If you guys are working with networking, an input stream is a network. Path, that's obviously got to do with the file path, the full file path. Readable source, I have no idea. No idea. And this is the string source, so this is the one that we're going to be doing. So if we go string source, and we're going to be working through bags. So we're going to be scanning through the bags. Now, defaultly, a scanner has a delimiter of enters and tabs. So a tab would be a delimiter, or an enter would be a delimiter defaultly. So I don't actually need to specify what my delimiter is. So what I can do here is I can just go while, open brackets, sc bags. Now, interest sake, if you guys go to, actually let me just do it here rather.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, while, yes?
I'm just a little confused. What exactly are you scanning through the bags to find? Like, to put them in a certain position, or?
A scanner will separate characters into different, or separates a stream or multiple things into separate entities according to a delimiter. That's the purpose of a scanner. So in this case, we are scanning. This is what is going to be sent through to the string bags. We understand this to be 100 grams, 200 grams, 300 grams. So we are separating it into individual bags. So there's a bag with 100 grams, and we want to separate it to that. There's a bag of 200 grams. We want to separate it to that, and so forth. Yes.
So if you had all of your text just in one continuous line, you would have to set the delimiter. Because you've got them line after line, you don't have to.
Yes. If there was, for example, if here the delimiter was a hashtag, or it was a dash, or it was a comma, or whatever, then you'd have to specify. But because it's \n, that is a default delimiter anyway. Default delimiter is tabs and enters, but \n is an enter.
Okay.
Now, scanbags dot has next means that I continue scanning until I get to the end, because a text file, do we as a programmer know exactly how long this text file is? It could be, and it changes from day 1 when I run the program to day 100 when I run the program. It's going to be different size, so it's not a set variable. So we're doing it continuously until there is no more in there. So we look for it. So in this case, we just go int. We go bags position. Actually, no, we don't need to go. We just create a temp because we have an add bag. So int w is equal to sc bags dot next int, because we want to get the next integer, semicolon. I then run my add bag and I add that bag. The yellow underline is because this is public. I don't think I specified in here my add bag was public, so I must keep it public. But potentially you could make it private. So that, because you shouldn't. Later on, we're going to learn the idea of inheritance. Inheritance is where I can create a class, I can extend the class. So for example, we've got a food class, I can create a baby food class. Yeah, I like it. A baby food class, which means it will take on all the attributes of the food class, but I can add an additional thing saying age group good for, or something. Now, yeah, so add bag, and then, sorry. And the next thing is if we go add bag, this method should receive into the array so we've done this. Set all setters and getters, toString, get total weight, get average weight. I'm going to leave those for you guys, and this is the main thing I wanted to cover for today. The next lesson I'll go through, or do you want me to finish this class with you guys now, and then you guys can do the food manager class? Okay. So the next question says, create a method, create all setters and getters for fields. Alt insert setters and getters, all of them. Sweet. It then says, where am I? Okay, create a toString method that will return the contents of all fields, the name and nutritional values, followed by all bags separated by a new line character. Okay, so now we just got to create the toString. So for the toString, alt insert toString. I'm going to tick none of them, generate. I'm then going to make my own one. So instead of doing this, I'm going to create a string s is equal to blank. Actually, I'm going to start off by putting in the name. I want to then separate it with, I don't know if it specifies on how this should be separated, but I want to separate it with the backslash t. Yeah. And then I'm going to put in the, what's the next thing? That's a nutritional. Nut. So now I'm going to loop through my array. So my array is up till numbags, and I'm then going to add on to it. I'm going to put a backslash in here, so it's a new line, and then I'm going to put the weight of the bags. So I'm going to go weight. That's not spelled. Sorry, bags. Position I. I'm going to add that to my string. So s plus equals plus backslash n semicolon. So all I've done there is I've said add to my string the bag weight at position I, so it'll start by 0, then press enter, then I'll get to the bag at position 1, press enter, then bag at position 2, and then enter. And then I'm going to return s. That's my toString. You guys get that? Now, the next thing that it asks me is, it says there, create a method called sort, which will receive a Boolean value and sorts the bags in ascending order if the Boolean is true, else descending order. Okay, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go through the nice easy way of doing a sort. It asks you to name the variable, name the method sort. So public sort, sorry, void, because it's an action. It's not going to return anything. It's an action. So void sort, and I'm literally going to go. The easiest way to do it required me to receive a Boolean, right? It said receive a Boolean, so Boolean order, so if it's ascending or descending. The easiest way to do a sort, for tab. Okay, so I did a I've done a loop inside a loop. The outer loop, I'm going to start at 0, and I end at the length of the array minus 1.
Yeah.
Minus 1, because we don't need to check the last position against the last position. We first find the smallest. Once we found the second to largest, so it's got to the bottom of the list, the next one is already obviously, there's nothing else to compare it to, so it's obviously, so we don't need to go to the last position. Does this make sense? So the next one here, the j, we're going to start at position r plus 1, so meaning that j would start at 0, sorry, would start at 1, because it would be looking for the smallest value. Then it would start at 2, because it's looking for the second smallest value. Then it would start at 3, third smallest value, and so forth. And then we're going to end this at numbags. Now we're going to have to do the swap. Now we have to do the condition. So the condition on swapping, but now it's compared to a Boolean. Now what I can do is I can say if open brackets bags at position j is smaller than bags at position I. Now this would this do ascending or descending? Ascending. Now order is true when it should be ascending. So do you get that? Because this statement would return true if it wants to order it ascending. If it was equal to, it would return false. So if technically if it was equal to, we wouldn't want to swap, but quite frankly, if we swap, it doesn't make 0 difference anyway, so who cares? but if it's not equal to, sorry, if it's greater than, it will be false, which means if false is equal to false, it's true, so I do want to swap it. Does that make sense? So I wanted to sort it the other way around, I could sort it the other way around. So I don't have to do. Now, guys, if you wanted to make your life simpler, in other words, this is a bit too confusing, you could just go if open brackets order else, and then you could just do ascending in here, and you could do descending in here. No problem. There's no issue with that. That will work 100%. I have no problem with you doing it that way. It's just this to me makes more sense to have one if statement instead of two if I can do it in one. You know what I mean? But that's me. Because now we would have to have had another if statement inside here doing the ascending and another if statement in here. So to make two separate if statements where I kind of feel I can do it in one, But it's your guys' choice. If you don't like this, you don't have to. Okay, so now we need to swap. How do we swap? So we go, now it's just a temporary integer, and we make it equal to bags at position j or I or whatever. Then you make bags at position I equal to bags at position j. You then make bags at position j equal to bags, sorry, t, thank you, equal to the temp. So we've sorted our integer array out. Happy birthday to us. Next question.
Descending, sir.
This does descending. Because if it's this statement here, if it's okay, if order is true, and j bags at position j is less than bags at position I, then true is equal to true, so it will then swap it when j is less than I. But if j is not less than I, but I is actually larger than j, sorry, j is actually larger than I, then it will equal false. So if order is false, and this is false, that'll be true and it will do it.
But
So it'll swap it.
them, but it'll still be in ascending order.
No, it'll be in descending order. Because this statement, if this statement would return false if the value was larger.
Yeah.
So false is equal to false is true, so it'd swap it. So it'd swap it if it's larger. So it'll come out as being descending.
Okay, I get you.
So this one if statement is will do both
Yes.
for ascending and descending.
Oh, okay.
Because the order, depending on what order is, will determine whether it's would swap or not. But as I said to you guys, I'm battling to explain that very clearly. But this way is 100% correct as well. If order that, then you could do the if statement for you would go if whatever and swap, and if whatever swap. It's just I did it. I prefer to do it like that. Right now. The next thing that we go here is we say get total weight, which will return the total weight of all bags. So I go here and we create public int total weight, and it's going to return the total weight of the bags. So all we do is we go create a temporary int tot equals 0 semicolon. We then go for tab. We go through our loop, so num bags. We go tot plus equals bags at position I. Remember, we don't have to go dot get anything because it's not a complicated class. It's just an integer array, and we then return tot. Done. So we loop through our array, we add it into one individual spot, and then it says get average weight. Now average weight, we just go public int avg weight. I don't actually know what it asked me to call it, but and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to return total weight divided by num bags. Done. Yeah. Average weight is just the total weight divided by the number of bags it is. So there's no need to loop through everything or redo that code because I've got a method that will get the total weight anyway. So you just call that method total weight divided by number of bags. Done. Hence I made it worth less marks, but quite frankly you would have still got the full marks if you had done the loop again and done everything again. Doesn't matter. One thing I do want to chat about here briefly, I didn't ask it in this question, but it might make sense, or it might even be asked, wouldn't it make a lot of sense here to sort of include in this backslash t total weight full colon space plus get total Did I just say total weight? Okay, plus backslash t average weight. So there's no reason why you shouldn't include it in your toString so that the user can see these methods. I mean, and often it might be asked for you to actually do that. So now, when you run it, you could actually just, it would say, bacon has a nutritional value of 10. The total weight of all the bacon that we have is whatever. I should probably put a G at the end, actually. And the average weight of the bags is that G. So it would display it out in my toString. So if I've created the method, I might as well also include it in the total. And then it would display individual bags afterwards. So I've created my toString to be more comprehensive. Do you guys get that? I mean, that wasn't asked in the question, so it didn't matter. But that's the URP 103 done up to this point here. I'm going to leave you guys to do this, a bit more time for you guys to do this. Yeah, goodbye.